Hello and welcome to Searching for Service. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
This is such an awesome podcast, is it not?
Yeah.
So as a reminder, we want to share with you our mission as a show, and that is to bring servants together through stories of service. And what we mean by that is just we want to share amazing stories that empower you to go out and serve. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's we believe that Rotary is a great vehicle for it, but we're also trying to share opportunities and stories that empower and motivate people.
Absolutely. Well, how about you share a really exciting event that's coming up?
Yeah, so coming up on January 27th, Rotary District 5950 has the Elevating
Impact Together.
The Friendship and Funds Fest. Friendship and Funds Fest. So that's coming up at the Plymouth Community Center in Plymouth, obviously. It's from 8 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. on Saturday. So there's a lot going on there. The goals, obviously, is to connect with people.
And it focuses on membership and fundraising.
Yeah, and so you can come get some donuts, some pastries, and some conversation. But they're also going to do some breakout sessions. We have a lot of clubs that have had very success with music festivals, so they're going to teach on that. I know they're going to talk about pull tabs. They're going to talk about some of the flexible meeting structures. So there's a lot going on.
Just really creative ways to continue to grow your clubs.
Yeah, really kind of empower clubs and learn from each other. You can also, if you go there, get a headshot done for your LinkedIn or your social media.
Seriously? I need a headshot.
Yeah, free headshots. And if you're interested also in your organization or club having a booth there, there's opportunities for that.
That's great.
So it's Saturday morning, nothing too long, 8 a.m. to
and it's a free event, correct?
Free event.
Just register through the district.
The district website is where you can register.
We will have that in the show page.
Yep, I'll link that for you. And like I said, coming up on the 27th, Elevating Impact Together, Friendship and Funds Fest.
Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool. We got a fun episode today.
Yeah, a little unique to you and I.
Chad's coming into his first year, wrapping up that first year of membership. We thought it would be a really great episode to get a little bit of reflection.
Yeah.
Talk about, the wins, the opportunities, and the things that you've learned, and maybe some of those things that you're looking to take action on in the coming year. So,
and just, how much I've enjoyed it, and some of the great parts of it. So it was a good conversation. It made me think more about the first year, because it's always good to have some reflections and learn. So
you
don't always think back like that without something like this. So
it's
a fun conversation.
It's going to be fun to hear all the things that you've learned, and all the things that because every Rotarian has a similar journey to you. Now, obviously, we'll talk about how yours has been a little bit different with the show, and how much of a blessing that's been in terms of kind of opening your eyes to the larger component of Rotary versus just the club level. So excited to go more into that. And
you're listening to Searching for Service.
This is Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops, and it stops.
Up your game and show off your Rotary Club spirit. Did you know there's a one-stop shop for all things Rotary apparel? Russell Hampton Company is the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary branded merchandise. From apparel like hats, jackets, and shirts to banners, tents, and awards, they have it all. And most things are customizable. And they can handle orders of all sizes. Russell Hampton Company also has deep connections to Rotary. In 1920, the company founder was part of Rotary Club No. 1 in downtown Chicago. Russell Hampton Company models their business on the Rotary four-way test and gives back 10% of all purchases to Rotary, supporting its global work. So the next time you and your club are out on a service project, arrive with the right swag from Russell Hampton Company to promote your club and Rotary. Even non-Rotarians will want some of your cool hats, shirts, and jackets. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com.
Hey there, welcome back to Searching for Service. And just as a reminder, we are sponsored by Rotary 5950 and
Russell Hampton. We want to thank them. You see all the nice swag. We got our mugs. We got a cutting board below there. We got their globe.
And they are the number one printer of Rotary swag. So
in the country, at least, and maybe bigger. Yeah, they had, anything from the swag stuff. They gave us a cooler and onwards to just printed material. So they do everything.
It's pretty cool having a show that is supported by wonderful sponsors. So thank you so much for your help. If you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, our show is obviously taking sponsors as well. You can get a hold of us by reaching out to our email, and that's searchingforserviceshow@gmail.com.
Searchingforserviceshow@gmail.com.
Sweet. Hope to have other cool, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for all the swag.
Yeah, but this is awesome. All right, so Chad, we're going to dive right into, you're now coming into a year of membership.
Yeah, I think it was about this week or next that you guys talked me into coming and checking out the club. And then I think my official join date was
in February,
mid-February, early, somewhere in there. But this was probably around the first time I went to a Rotary Club meeting. It was pretty cool.
Well, and you've had a little bit of an unconventional first year in Rotary. You've kind of jumped into a project right away that's pretty unconventional.
Yeah, it's no question. It's like I think I'm still learning the club level, and I think everybody would be a year in. And I think I have still learning, but a pretty broad understanding of what goes on at the district level and to see even the international level. It's been non-traditional, I think, to see probably the reverse of everybody. Probably just about everybody that's joined
Isn't
Rotary,
that funny?
actually.
You could probably say that you have a better understanding of how Rotary works from a national, international, and district level than the club actually works and functions.
Yeah,
but that speaks to the show too, right? Like so it very quickly expands your knowledge. Because think of all the people that we've had on the show where they're from a specific club locally here, but the project was an international project, and then it was supported by the district, and then it's so all of these things, we got to see how all of those things connect together. But what's been your biggest takeaway on the club level so far?
I think the biggest thing, well, there's kind of two things, is just how welcoming the club was immediately, and even to this day, I don't know everybody personally yet, but no matter what, if I walk in, somebody I may never have talked to or said I will make sure to say hi. It's different than you think about things like this as networking at some times, and obviously there's some networking components because you meet people, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a community, and everybody's kind of there for a different reason, and that's to find service and to support the community. So that's probably been the biggest, is how welcoming and just totally different than kind of, weekly meetings, whether, it's been networking or, some other trade. I've been a part of Metro Independent Business Alliance, which was, very mission driven,
Yep.
but still felt a lot different of almost a family or people really trying to get to know you, asking about, what's going on with you. And so that's been probably the number one thing I've taken away. I should say there's probably three. The second thing that I've just really enjoyed is learning from some of our speakers at the club. Obviously we have great guests on here, so you get to learn a lot, but whether it's Alan Page or Ellie Krug, who has a show here when she spoke, or even district governors. I mean, there's very rarely where you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of dragging on, and
right.
It's quick, and we've probably talked about this. I love that it's in the morning. Our club is. I know clubs meet at all different times, but for me, I get there and I'm to the office still by 9, which is really nice because the middle of the day is tough for me. So, but that learning has been really cool. I mean, I don't know if every year is like that for guests, but I feel like we've had some pretty cool guests at our club.
It's fantastic, and it's actually attributed to our club does such a nice job of selecting people that can get good guests too. But to your point about, I have 2 comments. One was on the first one is the thing that I've always used is my mantra of what I've loved about like the club level is collective curiosity versus like, so to your point about being very welcoming, because they're curious about you. They see that, somebody's new here. They're obviously, they're not sure what to do. So make them feel welcome, make them feel part of the community, make them feel like that they can contribute right away too.
Yeah.
Like that's the other piece. And then as far as the second piece with the speakers, the speakers are incredible, right? Like, and it's so unexpected. Like that's the piece that was really unexpected for me too. When I joined Rotary was just the power of having really good speakers.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that this show is trying to do is position itself as a speaker alternative too for the district and for everybody else, is that we can take these interviews with whoever we have on, whether that's a local project, international, whatever, and turn that into more of like if there's a club that either had somebody cancel or that they're struggling to find a good speaker, that they can use us as a collective resource on the back end.
Absolutely. And
that just speaks to the power of the show.
Yeah, I would say, too, to follow up on that, if there's a club and they're looking for some ideas, don't hesitate to reach out to us because, we're 60 shows in and there's a lot of content. It's, hard to sift through. And, if you have something that you think would be beneficial or an area, there's such variety of what we've had on. And one thing I've learned through the show, but then also because of our club, is how unique our district and area, both districts and areas, in that it sure seems like there's a lot of work that's done or people that have made impact well above that's being implemented in other areas through clubs. And so, we've had guests from our own club because they've done great projects and now they're getting modeled. And so that's been another kind of,
it
cool
is really
combination.
It is really
the two.
fascinating to realize just how embarrassingly well high achieving district 5950 is. And it's to the point where we actually get limited in the Rotary International magazine that we can't be featured more than a certain number of times because we submit so much great stuff, which, I mean, that's not a bad problem. I mean, that's fine. We want that magazine to be a representation of the world and in all other districts as well, but it shouldn't dissuade us from continuing to do the work that we do. It's
pretty incredible. And like I said, I'm unique in that I've gotten to see it from the show, but even at the club level, one thing I think, as a new member, I found out about projects that we didn't talk about. One that comes to mind is the Afghan refugee project,
right?
Which I had no idea because by the time I joined, the refugees that had been here, and a lot of the work was
done already,
done.
yep.
Yeah, and so there's probably still a minor support role. But I found out about that. I'd met, it was Steve, right?
Steve May, yeah.
Steve.
And we had him on the show.
Yeah, but I had met him. He was one of the most welcoming people
Mm-hmm.
at the club. So I had talked to him, never, brought up that, and then all of a sudden he comes and he tells us about this great, really incredible project and how people jumped from all different clubs. It wasn't just ours, but they,
Yep.
spearheaded, and it's like,
What's interesting is that model that Steve and that group built is actually being modeled internationally, not only by Rotary, but other organizations that are trying to help with refugee placement. And because, for them not to have to be involved is the greatest compliment, right? We created a space for them to get together, and then they figured it out on their own. It's literally the perfect project.
Yeah. Well, that's, the third point that I've really enjoyed is the service aspect of what we do. Mm-hmm. It's been sometimes during club meetings, whether it's been making bouquets, for people in the hospitals, whether it's been and senior homes, or when we've gone out to different places and seen the work they're doing, then they give you an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Or some of the different projects from highway cleanup to, I wasn't able to participate, even Camp Enterprise really spearheaded out of ours.
Yeah.
And that's, one thing as a new club member, some of the service projects is, A, you always want to do more. I think that's everybody. But B, I think as I get more comfortable, I'll come with service project ideas.
Yep.
And that, because there's, running a radio station and, I see
Life.
a lot more opportunities than maybe the average person. I think most people see opportunities. But it's, as I get comfortable, it's like, okay, now right now we're looking at different projects at the club level to mm-hmm. see where we fund. And so that's something I'm still learning how to, kind of the process, but also getting comfortable to say, hey, I think there's this group that really could be a good project for us, whether it's financial or volunteer. Well,
and I think one of the traps that new members can get kind of brought into is either one that they have to do everything.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to sit back and understand how they maybe can contribute the best, they try to do everything. And they're on every committee that they can possibly be, or they're volunteering for every single event. And they burn out because that's a ton of responsibility and that's just a ton of time commitment, right?
Yeah.
Or it's the opposite where they don't do anything.
And don't get engaged.
Because And to be honest, like my first year, I sat back and I watched because what I found most appealing about the club in the first year was, I recognized very quickly that there are leaders and there are people that are in the know and understand. And when I'm in a group of people like that, I get quiet and I listen because I'm like, you can't pay enough money to understand this collective of this collective knowledge and experience. But what happens though is if you let that continue to be how you operate and you're not kind of going, okay, where do I fit in this and how can I serve? At the end of the day, I think for any new member, and I'm sure that you can agree with this, is it's about getting to a point where you see where your attributes can contribute to your club. Yeah. And if that's that you're really great at putting events together, perfect. Be on the events committee. If you have a huge network of people, you should probably work with the speaker committee. Yep. If you like to, and we could go down the whole list, but I think that's the number one thing is like, how do you help each member fit?
Yeah.
And I feel like our club does actually a really nice job of that and are respectful, not too pushy to get you, doing too much. Yep. We'll always come to you with opportunities. Yeah. And I would say that that's a general comment about Rotary.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. And, I for the most part have observed, just started working with the Edina bike ride that we're putting together.
The podcast crew's the marketing crew.
Yeah. But and that's been fun. Unfortunately, I've been real busy the last month and a half. That I'm just picking up some of the pieces. But it's been cool to step outside of the club meeting, spend some time with people, and then you get to learn. Obviously connect on a personal level, but you get to learn more about what drives them, where their skill sets are, what brought them to Rotary, because it's subtle, but you kind of pick up, okay, this makes sense, and but because right away, you always hear, join a committee, which I was very open to, but conscious of I spend a lot more time working than I should, and so you got to balance things, and I.
But you've committed so much time to this show.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
is essentially your service.
Yeah, it's.
That's what Kelly and I talk about is like a large piece of our because we actually just had a conversation. We're like, gosh, we should be doing a little bit more with the club, but it's like, well, we've got this calling out here, to help, not only from the club level but the district level, and then Rotary International as a larger piece, and it's a pretty special gift.
Yep.
And we can't look at it as something that's like, oh, we're not doing enough. But in fact, we're doing something that's really unique. Yeah,
very much so. And so I definitely agree, but I also feel what I've experienced, even just the little bit I've started to get involved with a committee is something I want to have more time for. And I think is valuable. And ours is flexible on time, which is nice. So it's not, hey, you got to be here at this time. It's after hours, or it's structured properly. And I think the other thing I assume that's probably this way in other committees, is they're very much, hey, you know what you know. Let's use that resource. And so at the meetings, it's somebody that really is very good at system structure management, coordinating. Obviously I come from the marketing, so really working on the marketing side.
Yep.
Somebody more better on, or is better with digital and, building out things. And then really the connector in the community is there. And so it's cool to see that, because I've been on different boards and committees in the past, and sometimes you have people that just want to be there. And those are sometimes the boards that are frustrating to be a part of, because it's ideas and not action. And I've seen the opposite at the level that I've been exposed to it, which is cool.
Yeah, or the people that maybe aren't as so big into action, they're very good about asking for help.
Yep.
And go, this is my skill set, this is my capacity, this is where I'm going to need some additional assistance to help with that. And I think that's the biggest power of those, like a lot of Rotarians is, they know how to ask for help.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And we mobilize. Well, why don't we switch gears too? Like, what has been the most frustrating part of your membership so far?
Well, I've been frustrated, not with my membership, but the last couple of months was being so busy. I've, feel I haven't been to a lot of meetings lately, and I walk out of a meeting very energized, and so I miss that, and so that's been frustrating. I would say I still am learning a year in.
Yep.
Kind of whether it's orientation, but still learning some of the ins and outs that I think it would be nice. And I think, I know at the district level they're working on this, but more of if I had to spend an hour and get a crash course of, I know we have a club runner, we have this, so I've picked up on a lot of it, but if, right away, or if there was a, tutorial where I can say, okay.
Or you're not really sure what you're missing too,
yeah.
Right? Like it's part of it is like, I think I've got a handle of it, but I'm not sure. And then something new gets introduced, and you're like, what?
Yeah. There's always something like, I wasn't, I didn't realize that we're doing this, or that's how this works. And, even, from fundraising for our club and, the Rotary Foundation, I learned that at the end of the fiscal year where there was really not any talk of it until then. And, just little stuff like that, it would have been nice to, which I don't know if that's realistic to happen, but I would say that would probably be the biggest frustration is you just feel like you're still not fully understanding.
Yeah, you're still drinking out of the fire hose versus.
Yeah. And so that's probably the biggest thing. And not a frustration, but I've trying to, invite some people to come, and I still don't know the best way to not sell it's the right idea, or, I talk to people.
Create the value.
Yeah. And it's like, well.
What's the value prop?
Yep. We have a great speaker coming this week, but then, this, there'll be speakers that you see on the list, and you're like, I don't know if I'm that interested, and you get there, and you're like, wow, that was a lot more interesting than I ever would have thought. And so I tell people, it's really community based, and so, and I think that's an overall Rotary thing as we've learned, but I have a frustration that and maybe, as I think about it, it's not necessarily training, but materials, here's the whys that we give out to, hey, come to the club or something.
We should all have the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we should all have I don't think there's anything wrong with airing some grievances this is how we get better, right?
Yeah.
What's really nice is that you've outlined two very actionable items. One, a new member orientation. I know that our club used to do it, and they have not done it in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's something that, obviously there's some real value there. And what I'd love to hear is, if you're out there listening, is if your club does a new member orientation, how effective is it? Do you feel like that it gives you a good sense of what to anticipate, how to be a great member, how to contribute? And if so, please send us that feedback at searchingforserviceshow@gmail.com. Would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Or if you're watching online, or just go ahead and comment. Because I do think that that's a very valuable tool. I mean, why wouldn't we have and I think there's a little bit of a trial by fire that kind of works, though.
Yep.
And then on the second piece, remind me what the second piece was. We just talked about it. It was the
not.
Oh, how to invite.
Yeah, not
100%.
having a real good, and I take ownership in that. In
Same.
that I do sales. I get sales. I'm very good at communicating.
Yeah.
Obviously we're talkers, but I don't know that I've figured out the right avenue, because I have plenty of friends that I'm like, I know this is something you're right up what you want. You like service, they're in the area, and have a passion and enjoy learning, and so, you tell that, but obviously I'm not doing it right.
Well, I actually think, Chad, that sometimes the structure of the meeting can be a little intimidating, or even because the big place that I don't understand why we don't have more and more and more non-Rotarian people are at our events, our community service projects. There's really no excuse for that, because that is the epitome of as open of a situation to bring somebody into. And we had Alex?
Yeah,
Alex
he was out of Texas.
Texas, and he talked about how they grew their clubs through service projects and inviting people into that, giving them T-shirts so that everybody was a Rotarian, whether you were a Rotarian or not.
Yep.
And then that prompted membership.
Yep.
And so, one of the things that this show is all about is, helping us as Rotary figure out membership.
Yeah.
Because it's a challenge. It's a challenge for any membership organization right now. You've got a generation of people that are a little disenfranchised with the conventional model.
Yep. Yeah, no question.
And but what's really funny is that I think even since COVID is they've really seen the importance of service.
Yeah.
And giving and supporting other people, not just themselves. And we haven't quite seen any service organization fully pivot to that yet.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you look at Rotary and, I mean, what was the number? It's 47% or no. It was a big number. It was a big number that has been a member for 20 plus years.
I think it was 30 plus.
30 plus years. I mean, so you can do math. And so the demographic of Rotary historically has been a little older.
Yep.
And now we're trying to appeal to a younger audience. And
Yeah.
that's hence why this show has been so successful.
Yeah.
And it's just really fascinating to bridge that gap because there's almost a gap.
Yeah.
There's you've got one side and then you've got the new members who are this younger group. But there's got to be a common language there, and it goes back to exactly what we were just talking about. It feels like it's service. It feels like it's the events and it's the projects. It doesn't matter if you're 65 years old or if you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
You should be able to come together at a project and serve together.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned through the show, and it's talked about a little bit on the club level, is, well, there's the non-traditional clubs, which I think are brilliant and, obviously some of the biggest growth. But even within that, it's, there's an environmental group that you can meet with, and it's once a month, and they have service projects. It connects you with other clubs. There's, we had on somebody recently that was similar to environment, but, climate action,
Yep.
And so I think that is something that needs to be leaned in on and as an entry point. And I think, as I've thought about it as we've done the show, is taking that but also expanding it into, young professional stuff and not just young professional, the network. I know when I was younger, I would go to that stuff, and but that it can connect to maybe projects that may not be Rotary driven, but we have a young professional group that maybe goes to an organization that fits that demo more.
Yeah.
And that's something I think there's opportunities as not just our club, but as you go upwards. I also, when I talk to people, and it is an older demographic, but there's plenty of people our age or younger. I'm 40, by the way, just so you get an idea of that if you're listening.
39.
But there is a lot more, because that is one of the things when I tell people, like, it wasn't that just for more retired people. I get that all the time.
Same.
And I'm like, well, no. I mean, yes, we have some retired. I'd say, but I would guess 75% of our club or more is not retired.
Right.
I think actually as people retire, they travel more. They may go somewhere in the winter, or they're still engaged. But I'm like, it's kind of different than that. But that's the perception out there that obviously we're trying to work on in the show. But in general, that it's not that. And that's, I think that's a big misconception.
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest black holes in why Kelly and I really appreciate our involvement in Rotary is the families.
Yeah.
Are the people that have family. Is it a lot of work? Yeah. You darn right it is.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, right? Like to us, it's worth it. This time commitment, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And there's real value. And it's been hard because most of the people we're around are like us.
Yeah.
I have a couple kids. We've met them through the school and stuff. So when we bring up Rotary, they're like, I don't have time. I got 27 sporting events and all of this. And I'm like, what's funny is that when you make time, it does happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kelly and I.
You've brought your children to volunteer with you.
Yes.
Have you not?
Yep.
I know that we've talked, I don't know if it's on air or off air, that's one thing you've enjoyed to show at a young age.
Absolutely.
And what we've learned from our guests on this show.
That they're exposed to it as kids, right?
That's been a common theme for just about every guest, is that it's in their blood because they're exposed to it, and it was a priority from their parents from a young age.
Well, then let's pivot to this. Okay, so we've diagnosed some things that, as your first year is wrapping up, that you would love to see improved. How do we improve them?
Well, so, we touched on the orientation. I think that's a big thing. And, exactly how that look. I mean, I think with that, there's probably some trial and error. And it doesn't need to be formal even. I mean, even if it's, which I'll say this, one of the most valuable things is both of our club presidents have that, reached out, sat down and, individually for coffee to explain more. And that was really helpful.
That's great.
But you also don't know what you don't know to ask. And they're doing, everybody comes from a different perspective on it. But so I think there's, something, and, I know at the district level there's talk of doing new member orientation. And I think that's important for the person that's different than me, that, I have a lot better understanding of what goes on above the club level because of this program.
Yeah.
But I think that should be connected with it.
I think the district jumping on that is a huge thing. Now, I think that has to be supported at the club level, because then all of a sudden you can kind of because I can see a problem arising from just having the district.
Yeah, it's got to be both.
Because all of a sudden they're getting all of this information at the district level, and then yet they're still lost.
Well, and what I've learned just from the show is, and this is by design, every club is different. I mean, there's obviously commonality between them, but there's quite different, even semi-structure or what they're...
Well, the reflections of their communities.
Yeah.
And
so
each
it's by
different.
design, but that... So that the club level the district level will only go so far.
Yeah.
And so I think there's opportunities there. I think there's also opportunities to show a little bit, when we talk about some of the alternative clubs, but also showing the process, because what I've learned even at the club, I was like, hey, if there's something you want to create, yeah, this is an avenue. It
can be intimidating though too.
Oh, that's what I mean.
When all things are possible.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Not that I'm ready to do anything like that yet, as I'm learning, but I don't quite understand when that's being said what that involves, what that even does. So, I think there's opportunity there, but also with that needs
clarification.
Big time,
or
hey, this is what it takes, or it's really this easy, or here
are your resources.
Here's step one. I mean, I think that's always you gotta take the first
Here's
step.
how you start.
Yeah, and I think some of that, and I may have missed some of that, and that it's been laid out, or sometimes you get you're working, you get an email, and you don't get through it all. So there may be resources that I've missed, and that's on me. I don't feel bombarded by emails from the club. I mean, we get one a week, and
newsletter.
Checking what's going on. I do use that as a resource, and I think that's a good resource to just, hey, what do we got coming up? But yeah, so those are kind of minor things that I just, I'd hope to see, and overall, I think there's a challenge that Rotary has that I don't know the solution for, is the constant change in leadership. Our clubs seem to kind of stay pretty much similar, not major changes. But with that, I think some of the stuff we're talking about of, hey, could we have an orientation? Well, with that constant change.
Yeah.
And, where we've interviewed Alexa, that is the executive director. I think something like that has a consistent, which we're lucky we have Mary, that is kind of that consistent.
She's been, yeah.
But that's, I think, we're probably unique.
That's a really good point.
That's that consistent person that stays through things. And like I said, that's a structural problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the changeover is good, because you can continually address new things and new perspectives and push and keep pushing different types of boundaries. And, it keeps you from complacency.
Yep.
I will say that. But there are drawbacks. And I mean, we've even seen it with the show, right? Like, I mean, it's a show that we hope runs forever. And then we've got turnover at every level possible.
And different goals.
And different goals. And,
initiatives
what's nice is that this show is beginning to be self-evident of value, which is really huge. But the next person coming in may not understand what that is.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault by any stretch of the imagination. It's that, but they have their set of things that they want to want to focus on.
Yep.
But you're right. There are a few small systemic things that make longevity of projects and or like this show, for example, programs or
training,
whatever,
wherever it
challenging because there isn't one consistent voice through that. The field goal post moves slightly, and that's okay. Like part of that is also challenging that program, like our show, to continually have to prove value.
Yeah.
Like I do like that part. I'm like, hey, we got to be valuable no matter what.
It's probably, there's things I've learned that you kind of Rotary, I don't know if it was intentional, but has stumbled across that might be something that has made Rotary evolve when organizations have trouble evolving. I mean, change is hard.
Yep.
Nobody likes change. I know politicians run on change. It's a crazy thing because, there's plenty of research out there. Change is hard.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of value to it, but it's hard, a little bit on, and maybe as a new person I see it more because, once you kind of get comfortable with it all. But, overall, I just think my experience has been totally different. Well, obviously from having the show, but I'm saying from what I had as my preconceived notions of what Rotary was, as we were talking about what you tell people, I don't feel that it's, for older people at all. I actually, as I've gotten into it, am surprised it's not even younger because I think I think you're in the hardest demographic to be in with children at home because of the time constraints you have. So, if I would have been aware of this kind of, if I would have gone to maybe our club's different. When I was 25, I probably would have joined right then.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to, different people at different ages, networks are different. And that's the big thing is,
I think it's funny you say that too, because like we've had the Rotaract come to our club and we've had, the high schoolers come to our club. And whenever that happens, there's just a new great energy that really livens everybody up. It livens all the members up. And so to your point of, like, I think that as we're kind of trying to solve this puzzle of membership, that as the clubs generate more and more younger members, that it's only invigorating the established members, right?
Very much,
so it's, I think when you have such consistency, Rotary's consistent. It's just like,
yep, when you know what to expect to an extent.
But consistency breeds
complacency. Yeah.
And I would argue that when you look, and if there's clubs that aren't doing as well, there's a certain level of complacency.
Yeah.
And, I would say that pretty much everything that we've outlined in this in terms of opportunities has been a system of complacency.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not important. It's just that it's been like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that is just the new members also having a platform to be able to say something of like, hey, it would be really useful to have a new member orientation, or it'd be really helpful to have. But in that first year, you just don't know what you don't know.
No. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm very, very happy I joined. I think I'll be a Rotarian for life. I really believe, when you really get in and see the work that's being done and not talked about outside of it, it's amazing. The funds that are raised, but also the groups that you have impact. And, there's groups that we work with that then they come back and tell you about how much of an impact. And that's been something that I would just recommend anybody just go give it a try. Go try a club, and you'll feel welcome. And that's the commonality I think I've found is really a welcomeness to it.
I love it. That was literally like what my my last question for you was going to be is like, somebody that's either just joined Rotary or is thinking about joining Rotary.
Yeah.
Like
Go try it.
Just go try it.
Yeah. Well, we've got to take a break here where you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
And we'll be back.
Show off your Rotary Club spirit with Russell Hampton Company. They're the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary items. They make everything like hats, jackets, shirts, banners, and more. Russell Hampton Company is a fourth-generation family-owned and operated business founded in 1920 by a member of the first-ever Rotary Club in Chicago, Club Number 1. When you call Russell Hampton Company, you get more than just a company. You get a fellow Rotarian-owned business who's there to help. No matter if you're ordering for your entire club or just yourself, no order is too big or too small. Not sure what your club needs? Their team members can help and customize just about anything. They live by the Rotary 4-way test. They also give 10% of all purchases back to Rotary to support Rotary's global work. So remember, Russell Hampton Company is your one-stop shop for all things Rotary. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com. Russell Hampton Company, Rotarians serving Rotarians.
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing now was performed by Rotary Club of Dar es Salaam, Oyster Bay.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing right now was performed by the Rotary Club of Saskatoon, Natuna in Canada.
When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Hey there, welcome back to Searching for Service. And just as a reminder, we are sponsored by Rotary District 5950 and
Russell Hampton. You can check out the swag. We got it live if you're watching by video, but they're the number one Rotary printer.
Yep.
Promotion.
Thank you so much
company.
Thank you so much for
sponsor,
supporting the show.
Got some great tumblers here. And also, if you'd like to listen to our podcast, you can get us on any podcast network. We're also on YouTube, and you can find us by looking up Searching for Service. Perfect.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great interview, and it's always nice, like as the hosts, to do interviews with each other from time to time, because we get all these great interviews with these people, but the amount that we're learning, and so to thank you so much for sharing, as you're getting into your first year, about that. I mean, because that's what this show's all about, is helping empower people that are out there looking for service, to serve, and then for those that are serving within Rotary or other organizations. I mean, it doesn't have to be Rotary.
No, it doesn't.
To really be reflective and continually get better at serving and bringing value.
And it, like we talked about, I really enjoy Rotary, but it doesn't. There's other opportunities. Yeah. But I think I think it's worth looking at. And, I feel very fortunate that I've learned so much from the show. When we were talking about doing this show, I kind of look back and, it's been incredible to,
it hasn't been easy. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that this show has been more difficult than I anticipated, but 100 times more rewarding.
I think people, and I always, wrote on a radio station, they always think a show is easy. And I'm like, it's a lot more work than most people realize, because it's conversation, but it's been cool. It's, I think about some of the great guests we've had, and from the local and national and nonprofit, it's been incredible.
And I think about how much we've grown.
Yeah.
Like through the show too. So, kind of you could use that if you're listening as something that's very similar to how you'll grow through service, whether it's through Rotary. We encourage Rotary, but if there's another organization out there that really resonates with you, go for it. But you grow so much through service.
And what I would just say, we got to wrap up it is, what I've found is we're all very passionate about this, and I think that's the same thing with Rotary. Is when you find passion, although it's work, it's enjoyable.
It's totally worth it.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Chad, again for sharing your insight. Yeah. And just as a reminder, you are listening to Searching for Service. I'm Joe Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And it's time to start searching.
Stop searching.
Stop searching.
And start serving.
Start serving. It was a trick.
We'll be back next week.